some.
You want me to hit it?
Well, it's saying an error occurred.
Let me try and see. An error occurred. Please wait a moment and try again. Everything shows connected. Son of a bitch.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk Podcast, coming to you live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe in Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are coming to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I am Porter Hayes. Alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. And on tonight's episode, we will talk about the official start of football season. Is Taylen Green a top 5 SEC quarterback and a new mega NIL deal for a Texas Tech signee? But we'll jump right into it. But between the college football game and Hootens magazine coming out this week, again, it's always around the 4th of July, so we can kind of say the official start happens when you get that magazine in your hand, which I've been getting it since it come out, but at SEC Media Days is next week. So were you one of the rich folks that got the pre-game, or are you one of the ones that are going to be waiting just like the rest of us?
I'm going to be waiting. After all the hype, I mean, even last year, I didn't get the early release download, whatever. I still pre-ordered it and whatnot, but no, I think the days are done of overspending for just to get a few days early.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I remember back in the day, you would go to GameStop at like midnight to get the release, and I remember I think it was 13, the one with Robert Griffin on the cover. It was the Heisman edition where you could be Barry Sanders or him and replay their season. But no, last year was one of those you couldn't help but wait to get that in your hands, play it, and then after a couple of weeks of it, I'm not like an online gamer, so I wasn't one of the ones that are ready to go out and get the pre-order. So I'll be waiting just like everybody else. But there's been a lot of people that have talked about the new game and how much better it is. They have the Road to Glory, so I've even seen some funny things about the BYU. They're telling people not to get the BYU Road to Glory because he become ineligible. So I don't know how true that is, but I'm glad they brought that back because I do like playing, from high school all the way into college. And I'm even, interested or intrigued to getting the bundle because you can take that player and then go straight into your Madden game after that. So, but that's what I'll probably be doing this weekend is playing that for a few hours until, see how far I get in the Road to Glory.
I just always, which I know it's already started, but the complaints, I mean, you can't please everybody, and there's always going to be issues. Um, it's one of those. It's funny at times, and then other times it's like a broken record. I mean, there's always going to be something that somebody complains about when it comes to these video games. So I'm more on the hype of get me to 2028 so I can get college basketball back.
There we go. Yes. Yeah, I can't wait for that because that was one of the few games, and you could even go college football. I mean, I've played the 2010, 2006. It was one of those that the graphics didn't have to be the best to make it a fun game. I mean, my favorite basketball game was the I want to say NBA Live, the one of the mid '90s one where it was like
Probably
the
the
8-bit
95.
95, where
Yeah.
you could pretty much dunk from the free throw or the 3-point line or shoot a half court shot fade away and make it with Dan Marley and Reggie Miller. So yes, the basketball game, then I guarantee you baseball will be right behind it. So let's just say 2030, we might have all three if
Hmm.
it's taken that long and there's that much interest in it. But
Bring back the origin. You bringing up the old games. I think it's actually the jumping from half court and stuff. NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
oh,
Um, it's 2-on-2. You had a limited roster who you could pick from. Jordan wasn't in the game. I think in that game, like I was always going to be Sacramento because Mitch Richmond was a cheat code from the 3-point line in that
mhm.
game. But yeah, I mean they're not going to be able to recreate those games.
Well, and then all the little secret characters you could be. I think Bill Clinton was one of them. George Clinton was one of them. Um, there was a lot of cool, all the codes where you could get the secret players that were available in the game. But yeah, you come into the game where, of course, it was Chicago Bulls fan. You had to deal with Pippen and Horace Grant. So you couldn't be them. But do you remember the college jam? They had a college version of NBA Jam, and Arkansas was it was the year, I believe, after Bud Walton Arena opened up, because in the intro to the game was Bud Walton Arena, and Arkansas was one of the best teams in there. So that was a really, really cool game to play as well.
Mhm.
You would play Arizona, UConn, Kentucky, Duke. All of them were really good in that game, but that was really cool to see Arkansas and in the height of their program in that, and that's who I would always run with.
If we're talking that again, if we're going to go down this a little bit, if you're
Yeah.
going to bring back a sports game, I think you bring back NFL Street
Yeah.
because it was just fun. I mean, you didn't necessarily have to plan or try to think truly like playbook wise. I don't know. There was something about it. No pads, street ball, street football. That was just one that I always enjoyed.
Yeah. You go back to the nostalgia of video games, and to me, like Tecmo Bowl, RBI
Hmm.
baseball, those Nintendo games that were, because to me, like, I'm one of those gamers, like, I'm not very good at them. That is my decompressing. Like, I just want to sit there and goof around, play. And these newer baseball games, you have to move the left joystick and the right joystick. I can't do that. I want to just go up there, and I'm so freaking uncoordinated when it comes to that's why I'm not good at any of the shooter games. But like, I downloaded this baseball game on the PlayStation, and it's some off-brand EA Sports baseball game. But I just get up there and hit, and
Yeah.
play around with it. Then you can download all the other games. But yeah, we could go a whole episode of like video games and what we do, like Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers. GoldenEye was one of my favorite games. I really like that on the N64. That was one
Maybe
of
we'll
my,
do that on a Thursday show coming up.
yeah,
Just
we can
video
go down
games
that.
on it for our
Yeah.
off-season episode.
Yeah, don't have too many left. It's crazy how fast this summer's went by. We're already into the second half of the football. I mean, off season. My kid, the dead period is over with. Kids are back in the second part, but we'll go into the other part of the unofficial official again. Newton's magazine is out. Get them on all your Walmart shelves, any place where there's bookstore, all over the state of Arkansas. And but they been looking over what they said about the offense and defense, and we'll go into like the question of what we start the show off with is Is Taylen Green a top 5 SEC quarterback?
I don't think he is. And that's I get, we've already had in the comments here, Taylen year 2 of Petrino's offense. We'll get into that SEC podcast. They put out theirs. They had Taylen at 4. Maybe it's me not drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe it's me still being in this mindset of, like we've talked about, go out on the field and show it. I can't put him in my top 5. I don't feel like a top 5 quarterback only gets you to 6 wins. And again, like we said last season, or I said at the end of last season, I'm not going to count a bowl game in your record.
No,
because it's one of those, they went 6-6, they won their bowl game. It's one of those, I can't put a 6-6 quarterback in the top 5. And there's others that will show that SEC's podcast list. Like they had Arch Manning at 6, and I'm on that boat of, just because of the hype, do I put him higher? I mean, it's kind of a mix of things. Honestly, next season, the SEC quarterback wise on paper doesn't look that loaded. Not that it always is loaded by any means, but there's a lot of unproven that's out there. But I can't put Taylen in my top 5 right now.
I'm on the same boat with you, because to me, it has nothing to do with his talent. It has to do with who you're going to throw to, who's going to block for you. You're only returning 3 starters on offense, and you got Carbona, Kittler, Harris, McCroy. This is based off the 2 Deep that's released by Hooten's magazine. You got Rohan Jones at tight end, Raylan Sharp, slot, Ismail Sissy at receiver, Omega Blake, Braylon Russell, and then Taylen Green. So when you're looking at this, I couldn't see them. You're saying he's a top 5 quarterback, and then let's say they go 5-7, 6-6. I don't see where you have the guy which you can throw to that you're going to compile another 3,700 yards of total offense. He had 3,154 passing, 602 yards rushing, had 15 passing touchdowns and 8 rushing. I am sorry, but 15 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing, that doesn't lead me to believe you're top 5. But if you pull up the graphic, a lot of this has to do with what are the other quarterbacks that you're ranking against. Lenore Sellers, it would be my top, which we're going to put out our list tomorrow. We'll release that tomorrow. But you're kind of coming into, there's a lot of hype around Nussmeier at LSU, which I'm not high on.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you say Arch Manning, but when you're putting him against all these other players, he might be a top 3 when you go off this list. Diego Pavia had that one, big game against Bama, and then now he's still rated the 12th best quarterback in the league. So when these rankings are put out, there's probably a lot of uncertainty on. You could really let's just go. Let's just throw Lenore Sellers and then Garrett Nussmeier, 1, 2, and then 3 through 16 without knowing what they're going to do or who they're going to play, how they're, everything else is a crapshoot to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, you got Ty Simpson, Alabama, but how is he going to do? You've seen what Jalen Monroe went up against and the trouble he had. Now, is he going to be a better? Because again, we're going to see all these hype videos and we're going to see all these things, but when you look at this list, what's DJ going to do? What's Mateer going to do? And Arch Manning's got some big shoes to fill, but
Mm-hmm.
you've seen what Ewers did and then what he got drafted. So, I mean, there is a lot of proving here between a lot of these quarterbacks. So, with not knowing all of these quarterbacks, what they're going to do in the SEC, I mean, maybe you could put Taylen at 6-7, but then again, the talent around him is not overwhelming. It's not something that you can really look at this roster other than the running game and be like, okay, he's got this guy to throw to. He's got these weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a lot of weapons last year, we thought, and we seen how that played out. So it's going to take more than a huge performance against, you look at it as numbers. How much of those numbers was against that UAPB game alone? So you got to take that out. I know there was somebody in the comments about bowl games don't count. No, because it's one of these games that you're just playing in and it means nothing. And no, we wouldn't have counted it if he lost or whatever. But also when you look at the highlight stats he had against UAPB, how much of that did that fall off after that UAPB game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. If they had lost the game, I'm not going to say they were 6-7.
Yeah,
they still went 6-6 with the bowl loss. They went 6-6 with the bowl win in actuality. But and looking at the list too, like on this one right here, I'm tempted just for sheer pettiness, like Mizzou's quarterback, you're going to the bottom just because. You can say it's unknown, you can say it's me being petty, whatever. But like you said, we'll put him out. It's really, this is something I feel like some of it you're just going to throw at a wall and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be more curious to see if out of these 6, if these are all the true first day one, game one starters, by the end of the season, how many will be the starting quarterback at the end of the season? Just because I think there's a lot of unknown that you're going to see some teams switch things up, not necessarily your top teams in the conference, obviously, but I'm looking at kind of some of these guys that have already been on some SEC teams, Jackson Arnold, Zach Calzada. I'm kind of looking at these guys like, maybe y'all are going to get pushed to the back again, like you had previously at schools. And even looking at Tennessee, they had to move off Nico because of what happened with him leaving. So was Joey Aguilar going to be your number 2, like you're next in line? Was he ready to replace Nico, or was it because you were forced to put him in? I mean, there's some things here that I think there's a lot of unknown. Can Austin Simmons be the guy at Ole Miss to do what they do in their offense? I mean, I'm not going to put a ton of thought on it because it's July 7th, but at the same time, we'll see what we come up with by tomorrow.
Yeah, and again, you're looking at these, and you could. I mean, you could. I'm just throwing a name out there. You're looking at some of these guys lower tier that can really blow up, and you've got to throw their schedule in to. All right, are they going off talent? Are they going off what they think they can do? But and also. Like this comment right here, Green has new wideouts. He has new, what can they handle? You're not sure. So I don't like that. If you're an SEC team and you're not sure what you have, if you don't know really who you're going to throw the ball to, I mean, yes, this is Taylen Green's second year in Bobby Petrino's system, but when you look around him, how is his relationship with the receivers going to be? Is he going to be able to, because he's got to work on his accuracy. So to me, if you're working on your game and your accuracy, then you got to work on it with your other players, the new teammates coming in. It just seems like they got a lot cut out for them to succeed this year. And we've been very vocal about how we are underwhelmed coming into this season of the expectations with this schedule and what this team can do, because there's people saying 8 games if Taylen stays healthy. I don't know where the seeing ends on this schedule, even if he is healthy. I mean, because one, you've got to rely on Braylon Russell being a 80 to 100 yard per game guy. Is Arkansas going to have that? Are they going to run that type of offense? How's your offensive line going to hold out? What's your depth like? You could start out 2-2 or 2-4. You're really needing that depth and that into the schedule, and that's where it's always killed you. So a lot of unknowns, and I know next week we'll hear about a lot about how good this team is and how much they've improved. But you and I both have already said it's going to be Ole Miss, Notre Dame. It's going to be end of September before we even talk about, all right, this is where we think this team is.
Bringing up Braylon Russell, it's between I don't know what Hootens has. I haven't gotten my copy yet, but you've got him and Mike Washington Jr. basically, as your running backs. I had totally put it out of my mind. I don't know how much he'll contribute this year. Arkansas brought back AJ Green. AJ Green left Arkansas and ended up at Oklahoma. Well, actually committed to Tulsa, ended up at Oklahoma State, and then lower leg injury in the summer last year, missed all of last season, transferred back to Arkansas in January. Is he going to be healthy enough to contribute? We saw multiple running backs outside of Jaquindon Jackson last season. I think that whoever your starter is, your true one, whether it's Mike Washington Jr., I hope whoever can produce, I don't care who it is. I don't, I would like to see it be Braylon Russell, but at the same time, whether it's Braylon Russell, whether it's Mike Washington, whoever the one is, I think that they need 250 carries on the season. Mm-hmm. Whoever that back is, get us 200. That's just under 21 carries a game. I think that you have to establish a true running game. I don't want to sit here at halfway point of next season or the end of this next season and miss Jaquindon Jackson in the sense of having that type of running back. And I know that he had 3 fumbles on the season, lost 2 of them, missed some games due to injury, but the vision that he had and the way he ran the ball, that's what we've got to have in the SEC.
Well, and you cannot not mention, everything with what happened with Russell last year. Is he going to hit the portal? Is he going to leave? Is he going to go here? Then he comes back. What Braylon Russell are we going to get? And when you have no returners on the 2 deep at wide receiver, that's another thing. It's hard for me to get excited about this team. And I'm sorry, because we're not going to see it until they get on the field. We've seen what Rodney Hill can do, AJ Green can do. We've seen glimpses, but we've also seen what Taylen Green can do. Who is he going to be able to throw to that can go get those 50-50 balls? Who's going to be that clutch slot guy like, Tesla, that he knows that will go out and dive and reach out for that ball, get the feet in before they go out of bounds, or stretch that ball out to get the first down? Who's going to be the type of guys that are willing to make those extra plays, yards after catch on this team? And when you look at the team, this might be the most questionable team that Arkansas has had in a very long time. Of what do they have? What do we expect out of this offense? Defense looks pretty solid, but when we're talking about the offense, yeah, you can have a really, really good defense, but you have to have an elite defense if you're going to piggyback off of this offense that is on paper we don't know anything about.
It's a bunch of unknown. And I honestly haven't looked at a lot of what the team has put out or their social media department. Mm-hmm. Some of that is just to try to not buy into the hype. And a lot of it I try to not do until Hootens comes out and then until Phil Steele comes out, and just really kind of compare the breakdowns of the roster. And I, knock on wood, you hate to say it too, but it never fails that in fall camp, somebody goes down.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those that you don't want it to happen. It happens, unfortunately. I think last season we may have gone unscathed for the most part. But I want them to succeed. I want to eat crow or at the end of this next season. I want Taylen to go out and show out. You went to the Manning camp, you turned some heads. You look good there. Like you said, I think with the line, the unknowns at wide receiver, we'll see if this smaller wide receiver works better. just in that, I think with these smaller receivers, though, Taylen's, like you said with the accuracy, you've got to be accurate. You've got to get the ball out of your hand quick. And I think that that's something that is going to have to be a focus, because when your receivers are all running around, 5'10" to maybe 6', 6'1", that's something that I look at and I'm just kind of like, ugh. Now, granted, we've got not Jordan Anthony, the Antonio Jordan, the kid from Warren, the wide receiver. I mean, he's listed at 6'4", I believe. There's talk that he's going to be special. We've heard it before. You got to go out there and show it. I think he's the one that we wanted to keep quiet, because he was that kid that didn't go to out-of-state camps. He was that kid that nobody really knew. Didn't have the big offers. It was one that, really had the Arkansas offer. He commits to Arkansas. Then you start seeing Ole Miss trying to, throw their name in the hat. So that's something that we've kept quiet. And obviously, when he steps out on the field this fall, everybody's going to know. But he's one that I hope he ends up being the guy in Fayetteville. I hope he lives up to that Warren wide receiver that we've had in the past. Yep. At that size, let him be Taylen Green's Treylon Burks.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope for. We'll see if we get it.
Yeah, when you look at the wide receivers, I mean, Blake 6'1", Brown 6'1", Ismail Sissi. And if I'm saying his last name wrong, I apologize. I always butcher names on here. 6 foot. Monty Harrison, two deep, 6'3". You look at your slot guys, 5'9", 5'8". Your two tight ends, 6'3" and 6'6". So you're right. I mean, when you're going up, probably again, you're going to be going up against defenses that are probably corners, and their safeties are going to be taller than you. Mm-hmm. So they better be able to jump, or they be able to be quick to create space. And we said that with Tesla last year. Create space, get open, or have that burner that you can go up and get the ball. Satania, we thought he was going to be a breakout star. But again, if you do go off a short game, even if you run game and you're predicting off a run game and short game, everybody's going to box on you. So who's going to be that guy that can get behind the defense and be a burner that you can really do a play action or really give them a deep threat to hold them accountable? That's another thing that's going to hinder this team, is you have no size at the receiving core. Now, if the boy from Warren steps up, let's say Monty Harrison steps up and now you have guys 6'4", 6'3" that you could throw to, even if it's a third down scenario where you can just bring them in to get a catch where you can count on them, you'll be okay. But then again, you're looking now, you break it down to your line on who's going to be blocking for Taylen. And you said, get the ball out quick, unless they can hold their own, hold their blocks. You've got some good guys coming in from the transfer portal. But again, until this team plays a real team, I mean, you can even throw Memphis in there. That game is a toss-up game when you look on that schedule, and it's at Memphis. So when you're playing Memphis for the first time since I don't know when, at Memphis, they're going to be looking at that game just like Arkansas State is. And we'll start breaking down the schedule the closer we get to football season. But that Memphis game is not a gimme. And then you play Notre Dame. So
and you can't be looking ahead to Notre Dame while you're playing Memphis.
No, you can't. You can't even be looking ahead to Memphis if you're playing Arkansas State, because look, I'm not saying they're going to win, but those two games, you need to blow them out. You need to be over it. We could repeat our episode from last year, and you'll hear me say the same thing. These games that you're supposed to win, you need to blow them out. Get your timing, get everything, and then get out, because you're about to be in a dogfight for 8 games. Get these games handed to you, develop your depth, because some of those guys that you're not going to play because you're struggling, you're going to need later on down the road, and that's going to hurt you. And that's always what's hurt Arkansas, is the depth. You have the talent, but you have no depth. You have no O-line. Now you got a chance to prove that if you want to Say that you're a better team. We've given you $15 million plus whatever. Prove that you are an SEC team.
Mm-hmm. And we saw it last year. I mean, yes, we won the Tennessee game when Taylen went down. But how many times did we say before that Tennessee game that you've got to get the starters out of there? You've got to win the games already so you can get your backups in. Because I just think about how, like, and I'm not trying to like crap on the Tennessee game because it was a great win, but we were all unsure of Malachi Singleton because he hadn't gotten in hardly at all until that point. But it was games like UAB that you were struggling, that we're all kind of like, hey, you've got to get your second team in, or at least get Malachi Singleton in the third quarter with some of the ones just to get them reps.
Yep.
But we saw the struggles with some of those other players that just weren't getting in because we weren't getting out of games. And then, we do get to the bowl game. Yes, there were the transfer outs, the opt outs, and whatever else. But, you had a lot of guys that had never seen the field before because you were having to play your ones the entire game of every single game outside of the UAPB game. So those games, I mean, there's not very many of those games that you're going to have that opportunity. So I think that you've got to do it. You've got to be able to, Arkansas State, Alabama State, like you've got to get your team off your ones off the field.
Yeah. Hootens has Arkansas ranked as the 11th best SEC team, but they have them ranked 25th overall. They have them going 7-6 and 3-5. So, I mean, right there, the surprise to me is this a top 25 team? No way do I see them as close to being a top 25 team. You can't say you don't have anybody off of your two deep wide receivers. You're returning 3 starters on the both sides of the ball and say that this is going to be a better team. Now, if they surprise us, cool. But I don't see it happening.
We'll see. I don't see how you can be, have the most transfers transfer out, and expect to be in football year the next year that much better.
Yeah. Well, and again, next week's SEC Media Day. So, we'll hear a lot of, about this team, coach speak of what this team's going to be from Sam Pittman next week. And then, the closer it gets to football season, we'll get to see some of the stuff. But when you got your games coming up, and we seen how everybody played off of that UAPB game, and then kind of the rails fell off, and then you kind of you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you need to beat Texas A&M, you need to beat Missouri, win some of those games that you lost last year, and prove that you're better. So that's a tall task, and there's been excuses, and we don't have this, we don't have that, but all we've heard for the past year is this revenue sharing. It's here. Let's see what you can do about it.
Mm-hmm. No more excuses. We're done with it.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. After the break, we're going to break down the newest mega $5 million NIL deal. Texas Tech is really throwing out bags in all sports. And then we'll break down some other things to wrap the show up. We'll be right back after a brief moment from one of our sponsors. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need. Whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck, plus our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. Before the break, we mentioned that Texas Tech is, if they're not throwing out a bag and getting a bag, I don't know what's going on. But man, high school senior, $5.1 million guaranteed NIL deal. You talking about beating the buzzer? Crazy to think that, and what I think is really cool. I will say that this isn't a quarterback, wide receiver, running back. This is a lineman that is getting this deal. And you talk about a kid coming in to Texas Tech and you're giving him $5.1 million guaranteed. Man, that really shocked me just because of, is that a year? Is that total? What if, it's guaranteed this dude could play 1 year and bounce. So they're really putting a lot of trust in this kid coming in. And I don't know how much money this dude's got down there at Texas Tech, but he's already thrown it at the softball team and now it's the football team. So I just can't believe one player is getting $5.1 million.
Yeah. So on the 5th, Yahoo Sports came out with quoting from The Athletic. So let's see. So out of that 5.1 million, so he actually agreed to a 3-year, $2.3 million revenue sharing contract.
Okay.
Which goes out to be, I think they said $775,000 per year from the revenue sharing pool. But some of that too is, here's where a lot of the stipulations and stuff come in, because a lot of that too will be determined by, they're just assuming that revenue sharing will increase the following season and the season after that, which in all likelihood it should, for everybody across the board. So, and then the rest of it obviously will be NIL and such. So it's a verbal agreement that can escalate the total value of the contract into that $5 million range. But there are going to be some factors in that. But the fact is like they have a deal that all this is, going to be guaranteed. So it's one of those, I feel like, with the money that Texas Tech does have in the NIL, because let's be real, it's unlimited. It's one of those that, hey, if revenue sharing doesn't increase, then I see it just coming out of the NIL in their collective. They'll get him his money, or you hope that they do. You hope that for the kid's sake that we don't see any legal issues that come out of it. In football, you can usually bank on a player being in, obviously it's going to be in college 3 to 5 years, because you can't join the NFL until you're 3 years removed from high school. But the bigger question to me comes up to, okay, you've guaranteed him of this. What happens if he transfers year 2?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if he transfers year 3? I mean, is this just, hey, this is what he's going to get if he stays at Texas Tech? Obviously, I don't think any of it's paid up front. Maybe they give him a signing bonus. Who knows? But the fact is, we all know he knows. He has the security to know, hey, if I stay at Texas Tech for 3 years, I'm going to have $5 million. My family's going to have $5 million. So it's just still crazy to me to see these things in college. When you start seeing that this player agreed to this deal, and we're talking about colleges, it's still new to me. And especially though, being a high school senior, and you know that you have the comfort of knowing that you've got $5 million coming to you, and you know that he's going to get some of it early. That's just the way the world works. So more power to him. And I think it was today or yesterday, Texas Tech got a 5-star edge rusher, I believe. I could be wrong on the position, but out of the 2027 class, these kids are going to see this deal, this monster deal, and they're going to want it too. Maybe they're not going to get that big of one, but they're going to want a piece of the pie too. You're going to see a Texas Tech have a run on top players just because of this one deal right here.
I want to ask you something. So we're seeing this one player that they're saying overall is going to get 5.1 million. Let's just say if half of that is, let's go 3 million guaranteed. That's what he ends up getting. Right here it says the Red Raiders went all in on signing transfers, spending 10 million to get 21 players.
Mm-hmm.
Giving one player 5 million. You're giving the other 21 that's already on your team 10 million. So what's going to happen to those players? You got your you ranked number 1 in the transfer portal, getting 9 players that are ranked on the top 100 list. Edge rusher from Stanford, offensive tackle from North Carolina, and then a defensive lineman from Central Florida. Team went 8-5. So we see this, but we're also, all right, what if you spend all this money? You see what Ohio State did, and now we're talking about what Texas Tech's doing this year. Ohio State set that bar last year for what they spent on their roster and ended up winning the national championship. That's another eye to look on and keep a watch on how Texas Tech does. They have them ranked 15th in the country in the Big 12 and went 8-5 last year. So we'll again, I don't know what they got talent wise at their talent positions, but this is a new school. You have SMU right behind them, that they're a school that they don't have to report anything. They're a private institution. How many of these other private institutions are not going to release what they're really making? And do you think that's fair that schools don't have to report, but schools do? Is this going to turn into a similar situation that we see here in Arkansas in the high school level of everybody talking about the public versus private school debacle or debate, whatever you may call it? Is it going to start turning into that in the college level now?
I don't think it will until I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to take USC out of this conversation, out of this mix, because they have historically been top programs. You're going to have the likes of an SMU. I'm not going to go as far as saying Vanderbilt will ever get to this, because let's be real, they're Vanderbilt. But I think you're going to have teams that try it. They're going to try to throw the bank, whatever, at coaches' teams. I think SMU is going to be, they're already doing it. I think they're going to continue to do it until they potentially get there. I think it's going to take one of these teams to truly make some noise. And when I say that, I'm talking potentially win the national championship, unseat one of your powerhouse teams like a Georgia, whatever, before you're going to have the powers that be calling for change when it comes to private schools.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And you look at what Ohio State did last year, and the biggest thing of losing again to their arch rival Michigan, but then it meant nothing in the end because you have the 12-team playoff. Now we're going to expand that. You're looking at these teams in the top 10, and Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, as Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Texas are all in the top 15. If you want to go top 25, Arkansas, Ole Miss is at 23. But the reason why I point that about Texas Tech because they're ranked 15th. So now if you put them their top 10 program and they're producing, more kids are now seeing. Now Ohio State did it last year. Now Texas Tech's doing it. Guess what that does to the market?
Mm-hmm.
Every player is going to ask for more money because now we're like, oh, look, if we need to be Ohio State, we're going to be here. We need to be here because look what Texas Tech is doing to now match what Ohio State did. And where does that leave teams like now? What does Texas do? You think their ego is not going to make them want to compete with Texas Tech and be like, okay, well, they gave this money. Now we're going to throw our bag and we're going to one up you.
With Texas Tech too, this could either work out tremendously or let's just say they go 8-5 again. Let's say they go 7-5. Let's take the bowl game out. So Texas Tech went 8-4. It's one of those things. How many years does Texas Tech do this and stay at that 8-4? Maybe you get a 9-3. I guess I'm just sitting. How long does the blank check last? If you're not making it, let's just say by year 3 or 4 of this, if you haven't made the college football playoff, do you say, okay, we tried this, it didn't work, so we're going to come back down to reality a little bit? Or are you going to continue to be that team that overspends, that players then use you just to go collect a paycheck and then go somewhere else? Or, you're going to get players that, hey, I'm a junior, I'm a senior, I have another year or 2 of eligibility. I'm not too sure about the pros. So I'm going to go to Texas Tech and try to just get whatever money I can, get some playing time, try my best at the NFL draft. This could turn out to be a financial failure, or it could be fantastic for them. I mean, we've seen teams in professional leagues, overspend with high dollar rosters. I mean, I just go back to that Lakers team from years ago that you had players past their prime with Gary Payton, Karl Malone trying to buy, titles and whatnot, and it bomb. But I just look at Texas Tech has more of a chance of this not working out than they do in it working out.
Yeah, I think the standard will be you have to make the college football playoff because we know when it gets down to it. I mean, now that there's the 12-team playoff, there's more chances like anything else. We know the run like LSU winning the College World Series, Ohio State winning the college football playoff, and then you go to, March Madness. When you start breaking down how difficult it is once you get to that moment, it don't matter how much talent you have. You need to now kick it in gear to where you got to prove why you're a championship program and win a national championship. So if Texas Tech never wins a national championship with doing this, I think that's okay. But if they start now missing the playoffs, that's what it's going to get you in trouble because you're not making that extra revenue off of making the 12-team playoff. You're not getting the bowl money. You're not getting all this extra stuff. And then they're going to stop because then the players will, well, look, you're going to give me the money, but we're not making it the college football playoff. We're still going 8-5. Or even if you go 9 wins, you're not making it to that tournament, that playoffs. That's going to be now the new standard. And the pressure of other schools that want to do it is, all right, yeah, we're throwing all this money on, but are we getting players collectively that can get us to a college football playoff? Because this is not basketball where you can get 2 or 3 guys and automatically become a college football playoff team. you're going to have guys that block. And again, I go back to the original point I said, you got to give them kudos for them investing in the line. You see a lot of the players that they did get. It's edge rushers, it's offensive line, it's defensive tackles. Perfect point. And we talked about that last week, what I said about Jerry Jones. And as long as they're the number one pro team, he don't care about wins and losses. So it's all about what you're going to do, what you can do on the field. And everybody around college football is now going to have eyes on Ohio State again, and now Texas Tech. SMU is going to be there because of what they're a private institution. There's a lot of talk about money being thrown out at their program. See what they do in year 2 of their success. Can they repeat on what goes on? Because I'm telling you right now, if you have Ohio State, SMU, and again, Texas Tech in the college football playoff, the following year, you're going to see more teams do whatever they can to throw as much money as they can at these players to build their programs.
I mean, you've now, like you just said with Ohio State, you've put the target on your back. You're going to have these teams gunning for you just because of your payroll. It happens in every other sport. It's one of those that, in baseball, Yankees, it was the Yankees for years. Now you can kind of say the Dodgers too in that sense, but it's one of those the teams gun for you because you overspend on your payroll. Sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't. The only thing I'll say for Texas Tech, for them doing it now, and I know rules have changed over the last couple of years already, but you're lucky that Texas and OU are not in the Big 12 anymore, because OU would be, I feel like, in a different situation if they weren't still in the SEC, if Venables can turn things around. But those two teams not being in the Big 12 are the best thing to happen to Texas Tech.
Yes.
Because now you can be at the top of this conference, because you weren't going to get there with Texas still being there.
And with how the new playoff format's going to go, with the Big Ten and the SEC making sure they have enough representatives in this conference, you're going to have to be on top of your conference, because you don't have the same luxury like the ACC, Big Ten. Now you're seeing teams join the Pac-10 to now where they're a legit conference. What is that going to do to the new layout of, do they get now an automatic bid? Where do they see their conference? Do they see them as do they go back to a P5 now instead of a P4? What do they do with that conference? Or they just leave it as they're not big enough to be included into a Power 4 conference and then turn it into a Power 5? But my last question before we get out of here is, okay, so all these other teams start doing this. All these other teams start winning. You have SMU, Texas Tech, Ohio State. Where does that leave Arkansas? They're already lagging to get as much money as they can. They have been one of the most open schools that are preying on this revenue sharing to save their program. And you've already, as your athletic director said, taken out your top 2 donors. That is not going to save your football program. So now, if you're having to raise more money, where do you see that leaving Arkansas? And let's just say going into next year, you're not going to have Taylen Green. Where's your program going to be at if you need now to get more money?
You're going to be in the same boat of being behind the ball. You've not done anything to put yourself in better position. The raffle is not going to be your savior. Obviously, I know that they did it during baseball season. It did better than we expected the first time, kind of ho-hummed along the second time. Maybe it'll be different in the football season, but like we've talked about, you start losing some games, you're not going to have people contributing to this raffle. But that was your only other chance at this if you're not going to get it. And let's be clear with that too, that raffle is not for NIL. So in the grand scheme of things, unless you have something coming up with Stevens, unless you have something coming up with JB Hunt, or Tyson's going to go ahead and give you some more, or whatever other company, if it's not going to be, and when I say Tyson, I know they've already taken them out, but I'm talking from the private side of things. No, you don't have anything in place to set yourself up in the NIL world. You said it and you doubled down on it with the revenue sharing. Hunter Yurchek and Sam Pittman both did. So guess what? The revenue sharing is here. You still have teams like Texas Tech coming out and saying, hey, well, we just, lock down somebody for $5 million guaranteed. I'm not saying do that. No, that's crazy. Props to the kid for getting him. That's crazy money. But at the same time, you've done nothing. You've showed us that you don't have any tricks up your sleeve. We've seen that from day one. You've proven us right time and time again by not having a plan and not showing that you could pull something together. So you're always going to be, in my mind, behind the ball when it comes to NIL and this whole money thing. I do think that the GM was a good hire. It's just one of those things that I think that the only way for Arkansas to take a step in the right direction is just going to have to come down to winning games and showing it on the field to then in turn get more money to come your way after you start winning more games. Yeah. That's your only chance in this.
I think if this doesn't work out, year doesn't go as planned, and if they want to still ride with Sam after another downfall year, Razorback fans are going to get a taste of what would have happened if Arkansas would have never joined the SEC. Frank Burroughs got them to join the SEC because they were afraid of somebody like a TCU or SMU, Rice, being left out in the dust, not having a permanent home. They didn't know what was going to happen, so they joined the SEC. And I think if you do this, even whether you stay in the SEC or not, you're going to have the type of team that you're going to be the Vanderbilt. You're going to be, those low Northwesterns. You're going to be those teams that are not thought of in those conferences. And you might get 6-7 wins here and there, but you're just going to be the bottom feeder of the conference. Mm-hmm. Very, very important, because all the other teams are going to continue to get better. And if you're struggling to get the money that you need now, it's not going to be any better, and you're going to fall by the wayside. And if you can't get the money and you can't get the fundraising in a state where this is the only major college football team in your state, and you have all the businesses and all the money that you could get, then you need to find the common denominator, and you need to pull the trigger and make the changes, because in all reality, you could eliminate a lot of programs because your football team is not doing well with this new day and age of winning in SEC and revenue. And your football program is now having to support other programs on top of $20.5 million that you have to commit to revenue sharing. It's not looking good. This is the most important year. Talk about things I've said over and over for the past 5 years. This is the most important year when it comes to the state of this program, because now a lot of money is involved. A lot more money is involved. If you're going to stay with the Joneses, you better start winning.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
Adam, you got anything else?
Negative.
All right. Well, we want to appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, we will be back on Thursday night, 6:05. Random off-season talk. Want to again thank everybody for tuning in. Comment section, but we will catch you on Thursday.